Hi folks, David Warnham here. I want to introduce you to a new video series called Off the Beaten Path. This series will be short videos about landscape and long exposure photography with tips on using gear and camera settings in various situations. I hope you enjoy. Hello everyone, thanks for joining me today out here at the Keystone Bridge in New Salem, Massachusetts. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to take silky smooth images of moving water. So right now I know a lot of us are stuck indoors, stay-at-home orders. We're not able to get out, and as photographers many of us have we've lost jobs and aren't able to work and earn our incomes. Thankfully, I'm a part-time photographer, but I do try to get out as much as I can. I've canceled all my workshops for this spring until further notice. So this is an opportunity for me to get out and share with you through YouTube many of the types of landscape and outdoor photography that I do, and some of the techniques and camera settings that are used, so you can apply these on your own and go out and practice as much as you can safely during these difficult times. So I am shooting with the Fujifilm system X-T20 with the 10-24 f4 lens, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a series of photos, show them to you using no filters, just straight out of the camera. I'll show you JPEGs, and then I'll show you final edited images. But I'm also going to show you how to use your camera settings to get nice silky smooth water, as well as using various filters to achieve those results. So just to start off, I'm shooting at the lowest native ISO on the camera, which gives me the best dynamic range. On the X-T20, it's ISO 200, so I've got that dialed in. I'm also shooting at f11. What I'm trying to do is in one single shot get everything from my foreground all the way to the bridge, my background, in focus in that single shot. I will also focus stack several images and then bring those into Photoshop later and see if that makes a difference. Right now, with no filters on the camera, at f11 ISO 200, I'm getting a 20th of a second exposure, which does slow the water down a little bit, but it still retains a lot of detail. And what I want to do is I really want to get the water, the areas where it's all churned up and it's white. I want to get that to be silky smooth, but not lose detail completely. So I'm going to start with a polarizer to take the glare off the water, which will cut a 1.5 to 2 stops on my exposure and see the results. So for those of you that are interested, what I use for filters, I'm using the Lee filter system. This is the foundation, the original filter kit. This is attaches to an adapter on the front of the lens. I have my circular polarizer on the front, which is right there. And I've got it dialed in so that the reflections on the water are being removed, and this resulted in an exposure time of 1/5 of a second with no additional filters, which is just about perfect. So in most cases when I'm shooting running water and I want to get that silky smooth effect, whether I'm shooting a waterfall or I'm shooting rushing water in a brook or a stream, my exposure I want to be somewhere between a 1/4 and 1 second. That gives about just the right look without taking all the detail away. Anything longer than that, and you run the risk of just getting just completely flat water with really no detail in it. And I think it's important to showcase some detail, to show movement, but also show, especially where we've got rocks here in the water and the water's coming over the rocks, I want to showcase that and not just make it look like it's a flat piece of glass. All right, just to give you an idea of what a much longer exposure would look like, I'm going to use this. This is a 0.6 ND grad filter. It's 2 stops. I'm going to use it to cover the entire front element of the lens in the filter holder, which will result in a much longer exposure. Just to show you what it would look like with all this running water if we were doing a much longer exposure, how much it really does smooth it out. Last image, shooting it with the 2-stop ND grad, using it to cover the entire image itself, resulted in me shooting it at 1.6 seconds versus a sixth of a second, which is the image I took without that filter. And there's a dramatic difference in the way the water looks. It's actually pretty cool. It looks really nice, but you'll also notice that we lost a lot of detail in the water compared to the previous image where you've got still some detail, but you're showing movement. I also want to mention another reason why I've got the camera set low to the water as opposed to shooting it from waist level or eye level is I really wanted to have a strong foreground, which were the rocks that you see right in front of the image with the moss on them. They look really, really nice. It adds some color, because right now where it's only late March, we haven't had anything in bloom yet, so the forest still looks like winter. It's very brown and gray. I wanted to add a little bit of color. I also wanted to get the water to come into the image and then leave the image, act as a leading line from the corner of the image right through the image up to my focal point, which of course is the bridge in the background. So by placing the camera low to the water, getting low, helps me pull a nice strong foreground, anchor the image, as well as use that leading line of the moving water to go through the image up to my focal point. Okay, for my final image, I moved over a little bit to the left and went into portrait orientation using the same rocks as my foreground. I raised the camera up a little bit so I can still see some of the movement in the water. Being too low at that point meant that the rocks took over the image and was too strong of an anchor. So this way I can still get a nice foreground, a nice midground with the moving water, of course, and my subject being the bridge in the background. You might have noticed also that I'm cropping to the top of the bridge. I'm not showing the area above it. That's because it's very overcast today. The sky is very white, and rather than using another ND grad filter to pull down the sky, it's still a very boring element, and I wanted to exclude it. I just wanted 3 things in my image: a nice strong foreground, the moving water as my midground or leading line, and of course the bridge as my subject. Just a couple final things to mention. I'm using a filter kit that holds up to 3 filters. You don't need to have something like this. You can get a circular polarizer, which again will take 1.5 to 2 stops of light, slowing the shutter down. I am shooting in manual mode, but of course I started my first exposure in aperture priority just to get a baseline exposure, so I knew where to go from there. You can also get screw in neutral density filters, ones that are variable, so that you can adjust the amount of neutral density and affect the overall exposure and your shutter speed. So it's useful to have the filters, I find, in the field rather than try to use filters to balance exposure in Lightroom or Capture One or Photoshop. However, to shoot images like this with moving water, you need to have filters unless you've got really dark conditions and you can shoot without. I could have shot without the polarizer and been happy with a 1/20th of second exposure, but it wasn't giving me the results I wanted. So at least a polarizer or even a standard neutral density two-stop filter would have got me down to the 1/6 of a second, which is about where I want to be to remain detailed but show movement. I hope you enjoyed today's quick video. If you did enjoy it, please feel free to subscribe to the channel so you can stay on top of future videos. I am going to try to post short little tips on shooting outdoor landscape photography, long exposure photography over the next several weeks. Probably one every couple of weeks when I have a chance to get out. Also, make sure to hit that bell notification so that you can be notified of future videos. And as always, feel free to leave a like and a comment. I'd love to hear from you. What do you think? Do you have your own tips that we can share with others? I can go out and I can do future videos on. And during these times, please be safe, practice social distancing. But if you can, grab your camera, get out and enjoy. Until next time, cheers.